Hey guys, welcome to lesson 5 of the series Web Development for Beginners. So in today's video, we're gonna jump into the code behind and start coding our web page. So let's dive in. So open Visual Studio Code and let's get into the web page and start coding. So one thing I realized that I did not mention that is we need to add a text box to add an item to our web page. So let's start by doing that. So in here, to add a text box, we have a tag called input type text. So you can declare input type equals text. This declares a text box, and you need to close it. And usually input tag, you only don't have a closing tag. You only have one tag which also acts as a closing tag. If you see the other tags like button, you open the button tag here and you have a closing tag here, but not for the input tag. So first things first, we need to do is we need to add a class. So a class, a to-do item class. So first, let's try adding that. Let's add it in the same CS file here. So in here, let's declare a class. Usually you shouldn't be doing this. You should be creating a different class, but let's try doing that way so that you also learn how to create a different class. So in the left panel, let's create a folder here called models, and inside models, let's create a file, new file. In here, let's call this to-do-item.cs. So the .cs extension means that's a class. So once you're done with that, you open the class and let's declare the namespace. Oops, sorry. So first things in a class is you have to declare the namespace. So if you look at the index.cs HTML file, you see a namespace in here. So our namespace is going to be a page to-do list, which is the whole project, which is the name of the project, dot pages dot models. So let's type that. So let's say namespace to-do list dot pages dot models. Oops, I think I did it wrong. Oh, yeah, it's correct. Yeah, so once that's done, let's declare this class. So the class name is going to be called to-do item. And we need to hold the data that the web page submits, for example, a to-do item. So in order to do that, you need to hold a variable. So in that case, usually they can type, in a to-do item, you can type letters, you can type numbers, and like mostly any character. So in that instance, we need to make sure that we declare it as a string, not as an integer. So let's declare it as a string. Public string, and also make sure this is a property. So properties are like getters and setters. So you can set something into that variable. Also, you can get that item as well. So in here, let's call this public string let's give it a name called item, and you open a curly brace and you say get and set. So this is basically a property right here. So once that's done, once this class is done, you need to go back to the index.cshtml file, and you need to include that file so that this class can access that data. So in order to do that, you need to go in here and you need to type using pages dot models pages models dot actually you need to declare the whole namespace. Let's copy it from here. Let's copy this and let's paste it here. All right, once that's done, you need to declare another property here to hold that instance that's been submitted from the index page from here. So in order to do that, because this is the class that's going to be called when you press this add button right here. Okay, so you need to go back to this page again and let's declare a property here. Let's call it public. So in this case, it's not a string. This is the class itself that you're gonna access. So the class name is gonna be called Todo item, and then you have to give it a name. I'll call it Todo item here as well, and get and set. Once that's done, you need to add this line of code as well. In here, square brackets, you just say bind property. So what happens here is it will bind this property, whatever you declared here, like this text box data will be bound to that class property. So in that case, it is called item right here. So let's go back to the index page and let's bind that property. So in order to do that, you need to type ASP4, which will take care of the binding, and then you'd say Todo item. That's the name of the class or the property. Sorry, it's a property, and then you can call name. Sorry, it's not name, it's called item. Okay, so once that's done, the next thing you need to do, in order for this data to be submitted, you need to have this special tag called form. So the form needs to wrap all this data. So let's copy this form, closing tag, and let's paste it right at the bottom. Once that's done, now you need to mention how your data is gonna be submitted to the server-side code. So you need to say method equals post. So this will say, okay, this data will be submitted as a post command, through a post command, I mean. Okay, so once that's done, let's go back to the index CSHTML page and add this method called public void on post. So this knows this method will be called since we already declared post here, so this method knows how the data is the data will come from this method. So in here, let's do a console dot write to see if the data is going to be submitted in here. So it's going to be called to do item dot item. Once you're done with this, you can do a .NET build. And a .NET run. So once you run the page and you add an item, you will see that data, whatever the text you typed in that text box, will be displayed in this terminal right here. Okay, let's run the page. Open the page here. Let's say localhost 5000, and you will see the application, and you type something here, my first item, and then you press the add, and then go back to Visual Studio Code, and you will see the data being posted to that function right here. Now we need to make sure that we can add multiple items. So in order to do that, let's go to the index.cshtml.cs file, and let's declare a list to hold the items that you add. So in order to do that, let's declare a private variable called private list, and that's a list can hold several items. So in here you need to mention what the list is going to hold. So in our case, it's going to hold to do item. So then I need to give it a name. I'm going to call it to do items. Then you have to create an instance of the list like this, and let's make this a static. So by making it static, once your page reloads, every time you add, you won't lose the items. That's why I have this static variable here, so it only instantiates one, and that's there in the memory. So once that's done, let's go to the post method and say every time an item is added, make sure this item gets added to the list. So in order to do that, we have to call to do items. We're saying, okay, just add the to do item. I said this dot to do item. So what this does is it will add the to do item to the list. So once that's done, we can also check if our data, if there's more than one to do item. In order to do that, let's write it to the console by saying console.write and say to do items dot count. This will give us how many items that's there in the list. So once that's done, let's go back to the terminal. Oh, where's the terminal? Yeah, we've integrated terminal. So that's done. Let's say .NET build. Followed by .NET run. Okay, let's go to the web page and just type localhost 5000. Let's add an item. First item, add, set second item, add, set another item, third item. So that's done. You can go back to Visual Studio Code and check the terminal, and it says we have 3 items right here. So in our next video, we will talk about how to code the edit and the delete, as well as removing this hard-coded data from here and getting the data from this list right here from the to-do items. That would be in the next video. So at the meantime, if you have any questions, please do feel free to comment below, as well as please like my video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.